I call the Honourable Member Katrina Shanks.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I will never forget the story that came over the Christmas break of the 9-year-old girl found hiding in a cupboard, starving, dehydrated and anaemic from internal bleeding. She was just one of more than 125,000 reports made to authorities from people concerned about the safety or well-being of a child last year. The United Nations is concerned about children's rights in New Zealand and our staggering infant mortality rate. It's about time something was done. The National-led government is fast-tracking proposals to further protect children from assault, neglect and ill-treatment. We are committed to closing the worrying gaps in the law around the protection of children. The Crimes Amendment Bill No. 2 isn't only about tackling violent crime and making communities safer. It's about saving lives, children's lives. Last year, Minister Bennett described a neglected child as a silent time bomb, left alone, unwashed and unloved. These children may not be physically bruised or injured, but they will be deeply affected. Doctors see this every day. Parents bringing their children in severely malnourished, they're listless and glassy-eyed, their brains have not developed properly because they have not been fed, they have not been nurtured, and they have not been loved. These children fall behind at school. They find it difficult to get a job or to fit into society. This is their life. To me, this is inexcusable. We live in New Zealand. We have an extensive social welfare system. We have benefits, accommodation supplements, food grants, temporary additional support, and the list goes on. We have NGOs, fantastic NGOs like the Salvation Army and the Red Cross, who are always willing to help out. We have food banks. We have communities. We have neighbours. Neglect of a child is identified in legislation as serious, but it's not actually defined by New Zealand law. The Law Commission's review of the Crimes Act 2009 proposes that the term neglect is replaced by a gross negligent test. In effect, this will provide a definition of neglect. This bill creates a new offence of failure to protect a child or vulnerable adult from the risk of death, grievous bodily harm, or sexual assault as a consequence of the unlawful act by a third party, or failure of a third party to perform a legal duty. Failure to take reasonable steps to protect a child or vulnerable adult, knowing they were at risk, will also be a crime. It will no longer be an excuse for people to say they weren't involved in the abuse. People who stand by and do nothing about abuse will be held accountable for their lack of action, where our most vulnerable are involved. Our government has been working on solutions: the Never Shake a Baby campaign, First Response Pilot, introducing social workers into hospitals to help identify children at risk of abuse, improving monitoring systems, Home for Life, supported housing, and help for teenage mums and dads. But this law is about ensuring that people are held accountable for their actions or lack thereof. I look forward to this bill being discussed in the Social Services Select Committee. I look forward to New Zealand having the debate. We know that children are some of the most vulnerable in our society, and so tonight I appeal to all New Zealanders to look around. We must not turn a blind eye to child abuse. We must look out for neglect in our communities and in our schools. We must place protection and safety of the child first. I have a vision of New Zealand where all Kiwi kids have the best opportunities in life: education, food, the freedom to go to the beach or play backyard cricket, love. I have a vision where Kiwi kids just have a right to life, and they also have a right to live. Thank you, Mr Speaker.
I call the Honourable Member